I always enjoy getting one of our Ask the Exorcist questions from someone I recognize, someone who is a friend. And in this case, it's Susan in Bellevue, Washington. And here is her question. Susan wants to know, how do you exorcise a house or property of demons? I'm asking about a farm with a long history of being haunted. A teenage daughter and later her mother hung themselves in the barn. Susan, there are several things we need to deal with. First of all, in my book, Larson's Book of Spiritual Warfare, I have quite a detailed explanation on the procedure of exorcising a dwelling. So, I would advise you to check that out. And here's what's really important. Understanding the bigger picture of how demons operate. Now, demons can only function where they have legal authority, and that legal authority can be granted over some kind of spatial confinement. You see, demons are non-spatial. They are spirit beings. They operate in the atmosphere. However, when they come into our human realm, they become bound by our geographical and spatial limitations in terms of what they have a right to do. So, a demon can be in a person, or a demon can be in a house, or in a building, or in a piece of property, or affecting a nation, a state, a government. In other words, they have legality concerning the jurisdiction over which they have been permitted the right to act. So, they can be given the right in a particular piece of property because of rituals, ceremonies, or evil that was done on that particular piece of property, or in a particular building, and in this case a barn. Well, 2 deaths took place there. It's very common in the world of the occult for demons to inhabit an area or a residence because a murder, a crime, or a suicide took place there. And in what you're referring to, in all likelihood, the haunting, the demonization of that particular barn is the result of these suicidal deaths. Now, in the world of the occult, they think it is the departed spirit of the individual who engaged in self-murder, or the person who was murdered, or the person who did the murder. But that's not what we believe as Christians. We believe this is not the departed spirit, but it is a demon spirit who, because of the evil that was done there, has the right to affect that particular area. So how do you get rid of it? With an exorcism. But in this case, of course, it's not a demon in a person and you cast it out of the individual. But what you do is claim the property for Christ, or claim the residence or the house or whatever the building is for Christ. And one of the best ways you do it is, if it's a building, for example, a home, you just go from room to room. And what I like to do is anoint the doorway with anointing oil and the sign of the cross, pray over that particular room. I command anything that is evil there to leave, and it has to leave. And then I go to the next room and the next room and the next room. And if it's a home, I usually end up at the front door where hopefully the owner or the renter or the person who has legal rights to the property is there and declares by standing at the door and anointing it that this entry is guarded from evil by the angels of the Lord, and the place has been swept clean of evil spirits. Now, that same sort of thing can be done with property. I've actually gone to the 4 corners of a property and prayed over it. I don't know who owns this barn. And I don't know if that individual would be open to an exorcism of the barn to drive out the evil spirits. But Susan, you need not fear if you are in that barn. Just make sure you pray before you go in, and that you're covered by the blood of Christ, and that nothing evil can attach itself to you. But to others who are hearing me answer this question, beware. It isn't just always spooky stories when people talk about hauntings, ghosts, and beings being in a residence. The demons may have a right to be there, and they will stay there until someone who has the authority of Christ, tells him to leave. The most frequent demon that I deal with is the spirit of Jezebel, the most prevalent evil spirit of our age. This demon wants to destroy your health, your finances, your marriage, your family, and your church. Learn the tactics of Jezebel throughout history and in the time in which we live. My book, Jezebel, Defeating Your Number One Spiritual Enemy, is your key to overcoming this demon, which is more prevalent than at any time in human history. Get your copy today. Jezebel, Defeating Your Number One Spiritual Enemy.
He took the curses away from me. Was he Bob Larson? Because he can help you.
If your life isn't all that it should be, if relationships aren't working, if your health, your finances, or your spiritual life are unhappy, schedule a personal one-on-one encounter with me. We'll get to the root of the issues that are holding you back. We'll give you answers and a whole new direction in life.
Oh, what a change, what a difference when you have an encounter with God.
Take action. I look forward to seeing you soon.
We encourage your support for this worldwide outreach to do what Jesus did. For the latest information on resources, seminars, conferences, training institutes, retreats, and international missions, go to boblarson.org. Thank you for your prayers and financial partnership.